So, most people just assume that sudden weakness or maybe a shrinking social circle in your 70s is
Just the cost of doing business with time.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's just gravity taking over, right? We have this culturally ingrained idea that aging is this really loud, aggressive process. Like your body will hit a certain chronological age and
I'll
just
start setting off these glaring red alarms.
right. But today's deep dive into our source material argues something entirely different, and honestly, it's a lot more insidious. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we're going on a mission to decode the subtle ways our bodies actually try to communicate with us.
It's such a crucial topic.
It really is. We're looking at this fascinating piece called 7 Silent Health Signals After 70. And the central premise is set up perfectly by this one powerful quote from the text. It says, "The remarkable thing about the human body is that it rarely stays silent. It whispers."
I love that framing because unfortunately most of us have been, thoroughly conditioned to just ignore those whispers completely.
We really have.
We brush them off as just the inevitable background noise of getting older. When someone in their late 60s or 70s feels constantly drained or, starts moving a bit more cautiously, society basically tells them, well, what did you expect? You're not 25 anymore.
Right, like you're just supposed to accept it.
Exactly. It frames biological decline as this passive spectator sport. But the text makes a really vital counter-argument here. These shifts are not unavoidable realities to just be quietly accepted.
No, they're not.
They are physiological distress signals. Recognizing these subtle shifts while they are still just whispers is frankly our absolute best opportunity to protect our cognitive health, our physical independence, and just our future in general.
Which means we need to learn how to translate those signals, starting with the physical foundation, right? Because we so often write that off as simply, slowing down.
Yes, the physical stuff is usually the first thing we misinterpret.
Totally. So, the source points to waking up exhausted as one of the most critical early indicators, which is sign 7 in the text. And we aren't talking about tossing and turning all night.
No, not at all.
We're talking about getting a full 8 hours of sleep, opening your eyes, and feeling like your battery is just already dead.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's like having a smartphone battery that says it's at 100%, but then it just dies in an hour. If it's not just, quote-unquote, age draining the battery, what is the source actually blaming here?
Well, the immediate instinct is to blame the calendar, right? But the source firmly rejects that. It points out that the human body at a cellular level is designed to generate energy continuously, regardless of your birth year.
Because cellular respiration doesn't just, retire at 65.
Exactly. The mechanism doesn't just spontaneously turn off on your 70th birthday. When you sleep, your body is supposed to be doing all this heavy metabolic housekeeping, clearing out cellular waste, repairing tissues, replenishing energy store.
All the vital maintenance.
Right, so if you are giving the body the rest it requires and that energy is still completely absent the next day, it means there is a hidden background process burning through your system's resources. The source links the sudden loss of energy to underlying factors that are actually often highly treatable.
Like poor nutrition, right? Or systemic dehydration. That's one that always surprises people.
Dehydration is a massive one.
The physiology makes total sense, though, because as we age, our thirst mechanism naturally dulls, so people simply drink less water without even realizing it.
And when you are chronically dehydrated, your blood volume literally drops.
It gets thicker.
Exactly. It becomes thicker, viscous. Your heart has to pump significantly harder just to circulate oxygen to your tissues. So no wonder you're exhausted right now.
Wow, so the fatigue is really just a symptom of the cardiovascular system working overtime.
That's it. Or it could be a low-grade hidden infection, or maybe a severe drop in daily physical activity. The underlying logic here is that your body is using exhaustion as a diagnostic tool. It is telling you the internal environment is compromised.
We have to stop viewing constant fatigue as just like a permanent roommate.
We really do. We need to start viewing it as a fuel line issue.
And that lack of underlying energy doesn't just make you tired. It directly compromises your physical infrastructure. Because if you don't have the energy to move, your body begins to quietly dismantle its own armor to save resources. Which leads us right into the next major concept.
The silent loss of muscle mass.
Yes, sign 6, clinically known as sarcopenia. The text describes how insidious this is. It directly leads to sign 3, which is balance issues. People don't realize this muscle loss is happening until they face incredibly specific everyday struggles.
The friction of everyday life.
Right, like carrying a single bag of groceries suddenly feels like you're hauling wet cement. or pushing yourself up from a deep couch requires serious momentum, or stairs just become this daunting obstacle.
What's fascinating here is how misunderstood sarcopenia really is. We tend to associate muscle mass with, aesthetics or with athletic performance, like being a bodybuilder.
High big bicep.
Exactly. But biologically speaking, muscle is an endocrine organ. It is a metabolic sink for glucose. And structurally, it is your primary defense system. It protects your balance and your bones. What happens after 70 is a phenomenon called anabolic resistance.
Anabolic resistance. What does that actually mean for, the average person?
Basically, your muscles become hard of hearing. In your 30s, a small amount of dietary protein easily triggers muscle synthesis. But in your 70s, you need a significantly higher threshold of protein just to get the muscle fibers to pay attention and repair those daily micro tears.
Oh, wow. So if you aren't hitting that higher protein threshold and you aren't actively putting the muscle under tension, the body simply catabolizes it. It just eats its own tissue.
Yes, it recycles it.
And the source brilliantly ties this invisible muscle loss directly to the loss of balance. It points out that many seniors will experience a slight stumble, right? A misstep on the porch or a brief moment of vertigo, and they just laugh it off as clumsiness.
Which is so dangerous.
Because a stumble isn't a joke to laugh off. It's a failure of the neuromuscular system. It's a threat to your independence.
It is a failure of communication. The mechanics of balance require near instantaneous transmission between your inner ear, your visual cortex, and your muscles to make these tiny micro adjustments when your center of gravity shifts.
It's all happening in milliseconds.
Right. And crucially, aging preferentially attacks your fast-twitch muscle fibers. Those are the exact fibers responsible for explosive, rapid movements. So when you trip, your brain sends the signal to your leg to shoot out and catch you. But if those fast-twitch fibers have atrophied,
the leg simply doesn't get there in time.
Exactly. That is the real danger. Fall prevention isn't about never tripping. Humans trip. It's about having the structural integrity to catch yourself when you inevitably do. Because if you fall, you risk a fracture.
And if you fracture a hip, you lose your mobility. And when mobility vanishes, your entire world just violently shrinks.
It's a terrifying cascade.
But the text doesn't just leave us with the threat. It offers some really practical, simple fixes.
Very careful distinction here, which is important. Forgetting why you walked into the kitchen or dropping a weight mid-sentence, that is a completely normal part of the human experience at any age.
Because the brain is just constantly processing an overwhelming amount of data, right?
Right. It is bound to drop a packet of information here and there. That is benign. But the text argues that when the forgetfulness becomes a pattern, when you start dropping routines or you struggle to follow the plot of a normal conversation, that is the whisper.
That means the brain needs attention. The neural architecture is losing its density.
Exactly. And the remedy is active use. To understand this, I think it really helps to visualize neuroplasticity like a major city's traffic grid.
Oh, I love this analogy from the text.
It's so clear. If you think of your brain as a city grid, learning a new skill, reading, staying socially active, or having a complex debate, all of that forces traffic down all these different interconnected streets.
Keeping the roads busy.
Right. But if you stop doing those things, if you just stay in your house, watch the exact same shows, and follow the exact same routine every single day without any new challenges, the brain efficiently reroutes all the traffic to just a few main highways.
And eventually, the city just stops maintaining the side streets and the bridges altogether.
The synapses get pruned. They literally disappear. To keep the whole grid functional, you have to actively force traffic down every single street. You have to manufacture novelty and challenge the mind.
Which leads right into signs 4 and 2, which are a loss of joy and loneliness.
Very careful distinction here, which is important. Forgetting why you walked into the kitchen or dropping a weight mid-sentence, that is a completely normal part of the human experience at any age.
Because the brain is just constantly processing an overwhelming amount of data, right?
Right. It is bound to drop a packet of information here and there. That is benign. But the text argues that when the forgetfulness becomes a pattern, when you start dropping routines or you struggle to follow the plot of a normal conversation, that is the whisper.
That means the brain needs attention. The neural architecture is losing its density.
Exactly. And the remedy is active use. To understand this, I think it really helps to visualize neuroplasticity like a major city's traffic grid.
Oh, I love this analogy from the text.
It's so clear. If you think of your brain as a city grid, learning a new skill, reading, staying socially active, or having a complex debate, all of that forces traffic down all these different interconnected streets.
Keeping the roads busy.
Right. But if you stop doing those things, if you just stay in your house, watch the exact same shows, and follow the exact same routine every single day without any new challenges, the brain efficiently reroutes all the traffic to just a few main highways.
And eventually, the city just stops maintaining the side streets and the bridges altogether.
The synapses get pruned, they literally disappear. To keep the whole grid functional, you have to actively force traffic down every single street. You have to manufacture novelty and challenge the mind.
Which leads right into signs 4 and 2, which are a loss of joy and loneliness. And the text makes this profound point about stopping things you once loved, like gardening or family gatherings, and feeling lonely even when you're surrounded by other people, like feeling unseen, unheard, or just forgotten at a crowded table.
It is a profoundly common experience, unfortunately.
So what does this all mean? Because I pushed back on this a bit while reading. It's so easy to view losing joy or feeling lonely as just, well, sadness. But the source is categorizing these emotional states as actual health warnings on par with muscle loss.
It absolutely is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the text insists that emotional wellness is biological health. They are not parallel tracks, they are the exact same physiological system.
Okay, how so?
Well, when you feel chronically isolated or invisible to your community, your brain does not process that as just a sad mood. From an evolutionary standpoint, early humans who are isolated from the tribe were going to die. So your brain registers modern loneliness as a literal survival threat.
Oh, wow. So it activates the stress response.
Precisely. It triggers the adrenal glands to start pumping out cortisol. Now, in short bursts, cortisol is great. It keeps you alive. But when you are chronically lonely, you endure a constant slow drip of cortisol.
Which is toxic over time.
Very. Over time, that hormone physically degrades your immune system. It causes systemic, low-grade inflammation throughout the body. It damages your blood vessels. It accelerates that cognitive decline we just talked about.
So Source isn't being poetic when it calls loneliness a health warning.
Not at all. It is describing a physiological state that destroys tissue just as effectively as a disease.
That is heavy. But it also completely reframes the intervention, right?
Yeah.
Because the Source highlights this powerful antidote. Human connection is literally one of the greatest medicines available.
It is a biological intervention.
Yeah, just one meaningful conversation, picking up the phone to hear a friend's voice, or sharing a meal with a neighbor. We usually treat these as just nice, optional social activities.
But biologically, when you engage in that meaningful connection, you stimulate the vagus nerve, you force the nervous system to downregulate, you shut off that cortisol drip. A single genuine conversation literally changes your blood chemistry.
That is incredible. But there's a massive caveat to all of this that we need to hit on. Because all of these solutions we've mentioned, eating more protein, getting better lighting, doing puzzles, making a phone call, the Source notes that they are entirely useless if you fall victim to the final warning sign.
The root danger.
Yes. Sign 1, the number one warning sign, which dictates everything else. And that is, believing it is simply too late to change.
Yeah. The text calls this the most dangerous belief of all, because the moment you internally accept that your current state of decline is a permanent, fixed reality, your life physically and emotionally begins growing smaller.
Belief dictates biology.
It does, through the mechanism of learned helplessness. If you deeply believe that your balance cannot improve, well, you will naturally avoid walking.
And when you avoid walking, those fast-twitch muscle fibers atrophy faster, your cardiovascular capacity drops, and your balance objectively worsens. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. The belief creates the biological reality. Your world shrinks precisely to the dimensions of your expectations. Mindset is the absolute gatekeeper here.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The text doesn't just offer, positive thinking platitudes. It provides historical, clinical proof that the mechanisms of human resilience do not have an expiration date.
The body is an adaptation machine, no matter the age.
Yes. Muscle protein synthesis still works in your 80s. Neuroplasticity still functions in your 90s. The Source documents countless individuals who completely transformed their lives in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, just by starting to walk.
By eating better, learning new skills.
Rebuilding their social networks from scratch. They prove that you could rebuild your strength, your cognitive reserve, and your joy at any age. It is never too late to become a healthier, happier version of yourself, as long as you reject the narrative that decline is mandatory.
It really forces us to completely reevaluate the aging process. It moves aging out of this framework of inevitable passive decay and into a framework of continuous active adaptation.
And that really is the core philosophy you should take away from this deep dive. Growing older isn't about counting birthdays or bracing for impact. It is about actively managing the machinery and making every year count.
Small changes today.
Exactly. Tiny, seemingly insignificant inputs today. Drinking that extra glass of water, doing a set of squats while the coffee brews, making one phone call. Those become massive, life-changing results tomorrow.
Your body possesses an incredible innate wisdom. It speaks to you every single day through these subtle shifts in your energy, your physical stability, and your mood. It will always whisper before it breaks. The only real question is whether or not you are listening.
That is so well said. The source asks which warning signs surprised you most. But as you process all of this today, I want to leave you with a final question to ponder on your own. Regardless of whether you are 30, 50, or 80 today, if the body truly whispers before it shouts, what is a whisper in your own life right now that you've been ignoring, simply because you mistakenly assumed it was just a permanent part of who you are?
That's the question that changes everything.
Pay attention to the quiet signals. Until next time.